Your move!
What is going on, you guys? Bastion YGO here, and today I want to come at you with my ban list prediction video for the January 2022 Forbidden and Limited list. Now, what's exciting about this is going to be the first Forbidden Limited list we're going to have for the year 2022. So it kind of sets the tone for the entire year. How is Konami going to go ahead and react to the current format? Whether they're going to take a lot of things from the OCG and put it into the TCG and things of that. But before we go ahead and get into that, I do have two quick announcements. First things first, if you guys see on the screen here, we did reach 500 subscribers this past week, so thank you guys so much to everyone who subscribed. I really do appreciate it, and we're pretty much halfway there to the 1,000 mark. That's the main big goal we're gonna go ahead and have, so let's go ahead and keep pushing for that 1,000. Second announcement, check out this cool binder. It's I forgot who made it. It's Benton, I guess. I don't know, I got it off some guy at my locals, but I think it's really cool. It's absolutely beautiful, and this binder I'm dedicating strictly to deck cores. So if you look inside, I've kind of already started. First things, of course, you already see the trick stars already there, and then we're going to take it from there. I'm not too sure if I'm going to use it for this is just a trade binder, just collection deck cores, but we'll see when the time comes. But anyway, I want to go ahead and get right into the discussion about what cards I personally believe will get banned on this next Forbidden Limited list. Now, the main thing that's going to be different between other Forbidden Limited lists predictions that you're going to see in mine is I'm not going to be really touching on too much as far as limited and unlimited cards. As far as unlimited, what's it called? The OCG, I believe, brought Scapegoat to 3, so why not? Let's go ahead and do it. Let's go crazy. Let's go rampant. Terrible idea. Just kidding. Don't do that. But I'm only going to be focusing on a few cards that I personally think are very ban-worthy, and you pretty much heard of a lot of these already, but I just want to go ahead and reiterate in case Konami is listening. So let's go ahead and get started, guys. First things first, we're going to start off with Harpys Featherstorm. I actually just picked up the Tri-Brigade Lyrolust deck, and I think it's absolutely incredible. I think it's so much fun. The deck itself is very fair until this card comes along. Basically, what this card says, if you control a winged beast monster until the end of this turn, negate any monster effects your opponent activates. So immediately that gives it a huge boost to any deck that can play a winged beast monster, and what better deck to play that than the Tri-Brigade Lyrolust deck, which pretty much thrives off of winged beast monsters. Also, if you control a Harpy monster, you can activate this card from your hand. So a lot of decks are, a lot of my version of my deck, so it's Tri-Brigade Lyrolust, are starting to play Harpy Conductor, so you can have a Harpy on board, or just I believe Sword Souls using this card as well. They can make the synchro, the Harpy synchro, and then they have access to this card from their hand as well. And what I don't like about it is essentially it is very splashable now, because a lot of decks are focusing specifically on making a Harpy card just so they can activate this card from their hand, and it shuts off your opponent's entire board. I think of it a lot like a miscellaneous source, where your opponent can't really react to anything you're doing. Essentially the same thing, but this is 10 times worse because you activate it during their turn, right? And then they can't play their deck. And that's essentially what I'm trying to get at. Is when I think of a ban-worthy card, I essentially just mean a card that hinders two people playing the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Essentially, we sit down at a duel, whether it's tournament or not, across from each other. We want to go ahead and duke it out, see who's the better, but you don't want to lose to anything, something like ridiculous like a Harpys Featherstorm or Imperial Order, which I'll get to in just a second, which pretty much churns off your entire deck. I mean, essentially, it's a game mechanic, and I understand it, or it's a strategy in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! But I just believe that there are better ways to go about this to make this game overall a lot more healthy. Next up, we have Nemesis Protos. Now, Protos has been used primarily in the Sword Soul strategy to pretty much just auto-win games. Anyone not playing this is very questionable, honestly, because it pretty much just wins you the game against decks like Drytron, against Tri-Brigade Lurelus, it wins you the game against Virtual World, Utopia as well. Pretty much any single deck out there, this is pretty much an auto win. I'll tell you why. Essentially, so this card cannot be normal summon or set. Must be first be special summon by banishing 3 monsters with different attributes from your graveyard and or face up on the field. So it has to have a little bit of flexibility when it comes to special summoning it, especially with Sword Soul, because they do have quite a bit of attributes, especially in the extra deck they can go ahead and play around with. Besides that, so basically you declare 1 attribute, destroy all monsters on the field with that attribute. Also until the end of the next turn, neither player can special summon monsters with that attribute, and it can't be destroyed by card effects. So essentially it does literally everything to prevent your opponent from playing. Essentially, if you're not playing like Paleozoic, you can't play against this. It's just ridiculous. I mean, you pretty much turn off your. Say you go up against Drytron, call Light, great, they can't special summon anything. Or if you're going second, you call Light, destroy their entire board basically for free. So Arch Nemesis Protos is one of those cards similar again to the Harpys Firestorm, which doesn't allow for there to be a back and forth style of gameplay. And that's essentially what I think a lot of us want, is we want it to feel more or as most like the anime as possible. You see in the anime, you go back and forth, duels take 10, 15, 20 turns going back and forth, you might deck out, things like that. Essentially we're in an era where you summon this turn 1 and that's it, game over, game 2, right? So 1 turn duels, 2 turn duels is really just getting to the point where we're not playing a game, we're playing ourselves, if that makes sense. Next on the ban-worthy cards, I think Artifact Cythe has definitely proven to be the most prevalent artifact monster card in existence. Essentially, with the existence of Artifact Dagda, which gives you complete access to all the artifact engine, but essentially Cythe would be the best, preventing your opponent from special summoning. It just gives you so much more advantage. Again, it's similar to the Protos, you can't special summon. So with the current format the way it is, needing to special summon, I mean, we're not 3-4 years ago where people were playing True Draco, people were playing Monarch, people were playing random BS decks, you know, where you could normal summon and just be fine with it. We're in a format, we're so far in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you have to special summon in order to start playing the game, and just Dagda mixed with Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, which is another card I'll address in just a little bit, just makes it so much more powerful. Essentially, you pop it, special summon it, and your opponent can't play again. So essentially, it's just such an easy way to go. It takes very little skill to perform these plays, and it takes very little luck because it's so easily accessible, I should say. So Artifact Cythe, gone, get out of here, we don't need you anymore. A card that I don't see talked about enough is Cyber Angel Benton. Drytron is still a top contender, even though it may have fallen out of favor due to people just saying you just automatically win. Literally every single person that I've spoken to at my locals who has played Drytron before does not play anymore, strictly because they just win too much and it's not fun for them. You just summon Ultimateness and you extend your hand essentially, and that's all you do. So given that, as we approach more serious competitive gameplay, I think Drytron's going to make a comeback to make one of the strongest decks again. Cyber Angel ain't Benton. It's not a card that prevents your opponent from playing, but it's just a card that can be very, very easily just abused by this deck, just over and over, searching your light fairy monsters, and you keep bringing it back by ritual summoning it, and then you send it to the grave again. It's just so very easily abusable by this deck. To give it that much more advantage is absolutely ridiculous. You end up with an Ultimateness on board, a 4-negate Appaloosa, and you'll still have 5 different fairies in hand from all the searching that you do. Like, it's ridiculous. So I think Cyber Angel Benton definitely deserves the ban hammer. That's my personal opinion. Again, if you guys disagree, go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below. Next, we have Plantverte Anaconda, probably one of my favorite cards to have come out as a free sin, just because it gives you so much versatility as far as being able to pretty much, it helps Shaddoll, helps Fluffle, it helps obviously Dragoon players, it helps now Destroy Phoenix Enforcer players, and it's become a bit too much of a splashable card. As an amazing card as it is, I think it has a very amazing design. The only issue is that the cards that it's now being used to summon are absurd and outrageous, and it gets to the point where you're making a bunch of decks that are strictly revolved around Dragoon Turbo, Destroy Phoenix Enforcer Turbo, with a little bit of Invoked splashed in, so make it seem like you can actually, you know, have skill. And essentially, when it comes to Plantverte Anaconda, as great card design as I personally believe it has, it's just making it way too easily accessible to summon out these ridiculous monsters. Now, we already saw in the OCG, they actually banned Fusion Destiny, and with Fusion Destiny actually getting an ultimate rare reprint in the OTS 18, I believe that's confirmed already, if not it's just speculation, but still, it's too soon to ban or to touch Fusion Destiny, and I honestly do not think that will happen. However, it is not too late, too soon, however you want to see it, to ban Plantverte Anaconda. This has been an issue since Dragoon was the thing. People have been calling for this card to get banned. With Dragoon, it really would, I mean, it was an issue, don't get me wrong, but it could have been a lot worse. And right now, we are in that could have been a lot worse part of this scenario, where unfortunately, Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, again, just gives it way too easily accessible to summon out that card, and that card just pretty much wrecks decks altogether. So unfortunately, I do think Plantverte Anaconda should get the ban hammer, as much as I do very much like this card. And the last card we're going to talk about today, guys, is going to be Imperial Order. Imperial Order, again, is one of those cards, is not searchable, it's not, there's no easy way to access it, essentially. However, if you draw it, you win. Unsearchable, you draw it, you win. It's very similar in that sense to like a Maxi. I think Maxi went through a format where it was, I believe it was limited, and essentially if you draw it, you win. And that's really how it went. Again, if you draw Imperial Order, you win. And it's just brings so much luck into the game, sackiness, RNG, however you want to describe it. It's not healthy for the current format, because then you have to side a whole bunch of different cards just stop this one card that is at 1. You can just leave it on board and just pretty much destroy your opponent. Again, not allowing your opponent to play. Cards that do this, just I don't believe are healthy for the deck, for Yu-Gi-Oh as a whole. And cards like Imperial Order, I mean, the only cost is 700 life points during standby phase. That's perfectly fine. I will gladly pay 700 life points to prevent my opponent from playing the game while I build my massive board. So Imperial Order, unfortunately, I think it's just gone way too long without getting a check. So Imperial Order, unfortunately, we will see you get the ban hammer as well. So it's good doing quick summary of the cards that I believe are going to get banned in this next upcoming Forbidden Limited list. I have Harpys, Firestorm, again, way too easily accessible, splash in all top decks essentially, to Trapigate, Lyraless, Sword Soul, pretty much anything that can have either a Winged Beast monster or a Harpy, easily accessible to pretty much negate everything your opponent controls. Arc Nemesis Protos, again, just absolutely ridiculous. Doesn't let your opponent play, special summon, whatever your opponent wants to do, they can't because you have this guy on board. Artifact Cythe, again, not letting your opponent have access to the extra deck is absolutely crucial, especially in this day and age where we rely so heavily on the extra deck. It's not like before where if we didn't special summon from the extra deck, I mean, that's fine, we can still play around it. It's gotten to the point where if you cannot summon from the extra deck, you can't play your deck, you know. Next, Cyber Angel Benton is just so abused by the Drytron deck. I just don't think that it deserves to be in the game as long as Drytrons are still in the game, and you wouldn't ban the entire Drytron archetype. I think that deck itself is fair. However, the abuse of Cyber Angel Benton is definitely not fair, so definitely go ahead and get rid of this card. Vertex Anaconda, again, love the card design. I think is great. I think it gives a huge power boost to a lot of great decks out there, a lot of lower level tier decks that have gotten elevated, again, because of Predator versus Anaconda. But unfortunately, it does make very easy access to cards like Dragoon, to cards like DPE, and so on and so forth. And lastly, of course, we do have Imperial Order, which, as I said before, pretty much just prevents your opponent from playing at the cost of 700 life points. That's very minuscule in the overall sense of the game. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you guys agree? What cards do you believe that I left off this list? Go ahead and let me know again in the comment section down below. Like if you guys did enjoy, and subscribe for more videos, guys. Like I said, we just hit the 500 subscriber milestone. Again, thank you so much for subscribing, and let's go ahead and aim for that 1,000. And I'll see y'all in the next one.